All right. Chapter 12, what are we on now here? Excuse me. Chapter 13. I can tell I got the room kind of dark and I was trying to hopefully get the glare down on the screen so you can see it a little better. We're right in chapter 13, page 170 here. We're going through some of the different types of weld joints you're going to see on a print. Now, if you had print or this weld symbols competency, this should be very close to being an overview. Here are your 6 basic weld joints. We can have different variations of these weld joints. Another thing is you can have these in different positions. When you say 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G, and I'll have another exercise just on the positions itself. So right now we're just focusing on the joint. My next video will be on the positions of that joint. So a basic butt joint, this is sometimes also called a square groove joint. You're just basically taking 2 flat pieces of metal and joining them together on their edges. Corner joint, if you've been out in the lab, you've already welded these corner joints. Typically they have that joint up here, so you weld on the outside of the joint, or you can weld on the inside too. It depends on how the engineer has designed it. Double flange joint, single flange joint. Like I said, we went through a lot of these in symbols. If you haven't already had symbols, don't worry, we'll get you through it. Lap joint, basically there's just 2 pieces laying on top of one another. You're welding here and there. Edge joint, you're just welding on this edge. You have a T-joint, where they're actually just forming a T. I'm sure you've already been in the lab welding already. You've probably done a ton of different T-joints. So those are your 6 basic weld joints. And you're going to see these on a print, I'm not going to lie. Typically there's different variations of these joints, and we're going to get to that next. That's on the very next page. So as we go through, that's what we're looking at right there. These here, I'm not going to lie. You're going to have to memorize these joints. It should be second nature. These are probably the most common joints, and when you look at a print, they're not going to have the single bevel or the single V drawn in there, because now you have all these extra lines on the edges of each bevel. So basically you're going to see 2 pieces butted together, and then in your weld symbol it's going to say this should be a single V, so it should be grooved out. So you have your butt joint. Like I said, I like to call it square groove. Now they could have a gap in there or not. It all depends. It might have a root opening or not. A square T that comes up at a 90-degree angle. Now we're getting into that variations. The variations of this. And when you look at this, a single bevel T-joint, now we actually have a bevel on there. Why do they do that? Because they want to increase the weld surface of that joint to make sure it's fused in properly. A double bevel, now we have a bevel on both sides of that piece of material. This is, for example, let's say we have a piece of 1 inch, we're welding it to a 1 inch base metal. If I put a 1/4 inch or 5/16 weld there, we don't have enough weld there to hold that piece together. So we're going to put a bevel in there, increase our weld surface. Lap joint, straightforward. You can also have bevels in your lap joints also. So you could have a bevel right here, or right here, increasing the weld surface of those laps. That's going to be all represented in your welding symbol. Now, single bevels, if you notice, we always have confusion with students when they look at this V groove. They say that's a double bevel. That is incorrect. A bevel, if you look at a bevel, there's only 1 piece being prepped. Every one of these bevel joints, yeah, this one piece got cut twice. Even here in my single bevel butt joint, we only have 1 piece. Single J, 1 piece. Double bevel, you're still only cutting 1 piece. Cannot stress that enough. Don't confuse this with the double bevel. That is a V groove. That means there's 2 pieces. So we start getting into these. Look at how many pieces are being prepped. V grooves, there's 2 pieces being prepped. U groove, 2 pieces being prepped. Cannot stress that. This is not a double bevel. This is a double bevel. You see the difference? You know, you should have, if you've taken your symbols competency, this should be already etched into your brain, because I'm sure I hit this in symbols. So make sure you focus on how many pieces are being beveled and prepped, and that's going to help you with your joint. So you look into single bevel, one piece is being prepped. Double bevel, over here, one piece is being prepped twice. We get into our V grooves, both pieces are being prepped. Double V, two pieces, both sides are being prepped. Single J, we still only have one side. A double J, still only have one side. We get to the U joint, we have two pieces being prepped. Double U, two pieces being prepped. On your test, not only in this class or in your symbols, write single bevel. If you just put bevel T-joint, I don't know. It might be a double bevel, might be a single, I have no idea. Make sure you classify single or double. These here, plain and simple, can't stress it enough. Memorize them. You probably have a majority. I'm sure you should have the T, square groove, and lap already memorized, because that's what you're welding in the lap. If you've already did your bend test, you've probably already did a single U, because when you back gouge on your bend test, that's what you're cutting in. You're back gouging a U joint to fuse that in. Can't stress enough. Memorize them. Use the correct language. Single, double, whatever it may be. Because if it's only marked, for example, if I go over here, double bevel T, and you write just a bevel T joint, I'm going to mark it wrong. Make sure you write double bevel T joint. I will mark it wrong. I can't stress that enough. So, memorize them. Put them in your brain, because you're going to be using these probably religiously on your welding symbols when you actually get into the print reading. They're going to ask you what type of joint's going to be welded here. And you got to go to that weld symbol, and they're going to have that correct symbol there for you to identify it. Cannot stress it enough. Memorize them. These are very important. Our next little short video here, and I'll pick it up here, we're going to go into positions of these metals. Because now we can rotate these in different positions. So that'll be my next little video.